My name is Jason Champagne. I'm chef owner of Native Chef LLC, and I welcome to you to in my kitchen here in Eudora, Kansas. I'd like to thank the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board for this opportunity to present from here, and I'm just so thankful that you're watching. Today we're going to be doing a couple recipes using protein items and some indigenous food items. These videos are part of the Indigenous Chef series, and there'll be more videos to come. Today we're going to be doing a couple protein dishes. First one is wild rice with chicken and zucchini diced up in it and some beans. And the next recipe will be a salmon recipe, pan-seared salmon on top of sautéed asparagus and mushrooms. So got a lot to do. Again, I thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoy these videos. I hope you're able to learn something and to just have fun. You got to have fun in the kitchen. You got to have fun cooking. I hope these videos help inspire people at home to take the initiative to either start cooking at home or start cooking more and more at home. So again, I want to thank the opportunity to present, and thank you for watching. And we got a lot to do, so I'll go ahead and get started. Okay, the first thing I want to do is we want to get our rice cooked. And what I've pre-rinsed and washed this 3 times. And it's 3/4 of a cup of rice. So what I want to do is add 3 cups of water to that. And then we will go ahead and bring this up to a boil. And then once the rice is at a full boil, we'll go ahead and turn it down to low. We'll cover it and we'll let it cook on just on a really low simmer for about 30 to, we'll check it at 30 minutes. It'll be about 30 to 35 minutes. And then next up, I want to take some dried oregano, salt and pepper here. We want to make a little mix. We want to season our chicken breast with these. So I'm going to add them all together and just kind of mix really well. And what you find with chicken breast is sometimes it's thicker on this side than here. So what I do is I try to press down with my palm as much as I can and get it a little bit flatter. And then we'll just go ahead and start seasoning our chicken breast on both sides with our mixture here. And then next up, we'll grill off our chicken. So I want to spray the grill first, and I'm going to go lengthways at an angle, and then we'll put some nice cross marks on these. And then while the chicken's cooking, we'll go ahead and cut up our veggies. So we need about half an onion, and we're going to finely chop this. And then we'll also cut up some garlic. What I like to do is just slice it like this with a smaller knife, and then cross cut with the larger chef knife. And after about 4 minutes, what I like to do is we get these nice marks, but I'm going to go ahead and cross them this other way so we get this nice cross marks presentation. Then after about 9 minutes or so, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. Now your cooking time on these chicken breasts are going to vary on whether you're using an indoor or outdoor grill. They're pretty thick, and I'm using the indoor grill, so they're going to take a little bit longer. Again, depending on if you're using an outdoor or indoor grill, the best way to check them is to use a food thermometer, and as soon as they're up to 165 degrees, and you know you're good to go. And then while the chicken is finishing cooking, we'll continue to cut our veggies up. So I just peeled the carrot, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this down into strips. And then I stack them like this and cross cut carefully. Chop up. So if you ever see in recipes where it says small dice or fine dice, this is what we're talking about. And then we want to small dice some celery. So I just took 2 celery stalks. I don't want to cut all the way through. I want to cut strips but leave the end intact. Similar sizes as the carrot. And then our second to last cut here, we'll cut up a zucchini, and probably only going to need about half. So get it to a point like this, and then what I do is I just cross cut down and get strips lengthways. and cross cut this way. And then once you get them into strips like this, then we'll just again cross cut. So the size is similar to the celery and the carrot. And then our last veggie cut will be a scallion, a green onion. So I just cut the ends at a bias. And then all I want to do is just cut nice, thinly strips. I've already pre-washed this, but let it dry really good. That's the key. And get these strips as thin as you can. And we'll use this as a garnish. And then checking the chicken breast, best way to do it is the food thermometer. And it's a good investment to have a good one. And we're at where we want to be. So I'm just going to remove these to a plate and then partially cover it. And you really want to let these rest pretty good before you cut them up. And then our rice has been going for about 32 minutes now, and it's just about right. It depends on how you like your wild rice. If you like a little bit of a bite to it, take it off now. Let it steep, and there's liquid in there, but that's okay. What I tell people is it's better to have too much water than to scorch this, because it costs too much if you scorch it. So a little bit of water in there. We'll go ahead and turn off the heat, and we'll let it sit, and we'll get set up and start sauteing our veggies. Okay, so I preheated a Dutch oven here. If you have a regular stock pot or something, that's okay. I like to use my Dutch oven. I'm going to add the oil and the garlic and the onion. And we want to cook this until the onion's about golden brown. It should take about golden color. It should take about 3 minutes. Stir it occasionally. And now that the onion's a nice golden brown color, we'll add our carrots and our celery. And we'll cook this for about 2 to 3 minutes. Just barely softening the carrot. You still want a nice bite to them. Okay, it's been about 2.5 minutes now, and the celery and carrot are nicely cooked. They're not overcooked. The carrot still has a nice bite to it. We'll add our wild rice now to the dish. And the wild rice will still be hot. If you needed to drain it a little bit, go ahead and do that. I drained it a tad because I like my wild rice a little bit chewier. And then we'll add our beans. All I did was I just rinsed and drained the beans really well. We're going to add some salt, some black pepper. Really stir this good. The heat will cook the beans, bring them up to temperature pretty quick. And then our last item we'll add is the diced up zucchini. And you want to add this last because we don't really want to overcook this. We just want to very partially cook it, and it'll stay this nice bright color green, and that's what we want. Visually, we want these bright colors. And once you get that incorporated, you can turn the heat off. This will probably be enough for about 2 people. Put our rice and beans at the bottom. And then we'll serve our chicken breast sliced right on top. And then we'll use some scallions to put on top of the chicken breast for a nice garnish. So again, as I mentioned, these recipes we're doing are focusing on protein. And this next recipe is a pan seared salmon with basil, parsley, and green olives. Really good one, pretty easy to make. And again, like I said, I've got everything here in front of me that I need for that recipe. That's number 1. And then we'll get into cooking. So quite a bit to do here, and we'll get started. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get our basil and parsley mixture ready to go, marinating, and that's going to go on top of our salmon after the salmon is flipped over. So what I do is I find the biggest piece I can find here of the basil, and then I kind of roll all these smaller pieces in it. And once I get it there, then I just cross chop here and really try to fine cut this one. And then next up, we'll add a little bit of parsley. to our mixture. We're not going to need all this, just a little bit. And then take it, get into a pile, and then just cross chop the best you can. And then we'll chop up some fresh garlic for our mixture. And then once we have our garlic, our parsley, and basil into our bowl, we'll go ahead and add some fresh lime juice and keep an eye on these seeds if they fall in there. Make sure you get that out. And this will be marinating for our topping onto our salmon. And today I'll be using a salmon fillet. It's about 5 ounces. It doesn't have the skin on it. So this top side right here, which the skin would be on the bottom, is the side that we're going to sear first. That'll be the presentation side. And if you were to leave the skin on, you want to start the presentation or the searing with the skin down on the pan and get that nice and crispy. And then flip that over and either remove it or let somebody, it's edible once it's cooked to a crisp. But for now, we're going to use a skinless salmon fillet. I'm just going to season it with some salt and pepper on both sides and then get that marinating ready for our saute, and we'll cut up the rest of our veggies. I'm going to cut up our asparagus for our saute, and the best way to do this is, obviously wash it, rinse it really well, let it dry. But what I'm going to do is cut these woody stem pieces off. We can't really chew those, so I'm going to cut those off first. And then I'm going to take one end of the band off and then leave it whole like this and cut them into 1-inch pieces. When you get here, you can take that band off and cut it one more time in half. And then we'll do half of a red onion and just slice it like that in half. And then what I like to do is cut it in half there and then just cut finely thin strips. We want pieces that are similar in size, so the size of these will be similar to the size of our asparagus. And then we'll cut up some baby portobello mushrooms, and you don't want to wash these in water. They'll soak it up like a sponge. So just take a paper towel and wipe them down. And then once we have them wiped down really good, all we're going to do is just quarter these. Leave them a little bit bigger because they'll shrink up a tad bit when they're cooking. Okay, I preheated my pan here. I'm going to add some canola oil, and I'm going to do 1 here. If you do 4, I'd suggest utilizing your oven as a holding box at 180. That way you can do sets of 2 or 3 if you need to. For today's presentation, I'm just going to use 1, and again, I'm going to use the skin side down. I'm going to use that top part as the presentation side, so that'll go down first. We want to cook this for about 2 to 3 minutes, and you don't want to move it. Let it cook. Don't move it at all. It'll develop a crust and make it much easier to flip. And then when to flip it, it'll tell you. So you see these white parts that are starting to come out, and then it's kind of cooked almost half of the way through. And it's been about 3 minutes, so this is where we want to carefully flip it. We get that golden brown crust on the one side. And then this is where we'll take our basil, parsley, lemon juice, and garlic mixture, and we'll put it right on top. And then we'll remove our salmon to a plate. We'll partially cover it, and then we'll start sauteing our veggies. To the same pan, we're going to saute our veggies. You may not need any oil. There's some oil that came out of the salmon, and there's also some that's left from what we added. So if you need a little bit, you can, but if you don't, we'll go ahead and add our asparagus on the bottom, and then we'll add our bell peppers on top, or our red onion on top, and we'll let this cook for about 2.5 minutes. And don't stir it, just let it develop some color on the bottom. Okay, after about 30 seconds, I covered it with a lid, and you want to make sure that you trap some of that steam. That steam will help cook the veggies quicker, and We don't want our salmon to be waiting on us for too long, so covering it will help the cooking process. So after about 2.5 minutes, uncover it, stir, and then we'll add our mushrooms, and then we'll cover one more time for about 2 minutes. A little bit of black pepper, a little bit of sea salt. Sea salt's optional, definitely. And give it one more stir. And you really want these asparagus to have a nice bite to them. It's important not to overcook our vegetables. They're still nice and bright colored and have a nice bite to them. And then we'll put our salmon right on top, like so. And then we'll garnish with a few green olives right on top. Well, that does it for these recipes. I had a great time. I hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you for watching. Again, today's recipes were based on protein and veggies and using indigenous native foods. And I realize that, you know, in the area of Oklahoma, you may not have access to, or Southern Plains area, you might not have access to wild rice on you know, maybe occasionally. If you don't have wild rice, use brown rice. There's plenty of health benefits in brown rice, or sometimes I like to use quinoa instead of wild rice. But if you do have wild rice, it's a treat. Again, some of these plating techniques will help make that food look that much better. Timing, you know, having everything prepped and cut up, and then you get to have fun cooking. That's part of it. It's a little bit of work, but it pays off. That's exactly what they taught me in culinary school. Prep first and then have fun cooking. Once you get that principle down, you're going to have a blast. Continue cooking at home, continue staying safe. And again, thank you to the Southern Plains Tribal Health Board for this opportunity to present from my house. I really had a great time, and going to enjoy some eating here for a little bit. So thank you for watching again. Take care. Miigwech.